Hello everybody, I'm Gwen Campbell-Mindes. Welcome to Gwen's Bookish Ramblings, and we're doing Ilona Andrews because I'm actually recording these all at once, because I can. So we're continuing this Innkeeper series, and in this second book, our heroine winds up hosting peace talks. Basically, the thing about inns being neutral ground is they would make very good places for peace talks because an innkeeper has enough power, in effect, to restrain all the sides of a particularly violent peace conference so that you could avoid everybody killing each other and making it worse. They can provide palatial surroundings so that everybody, has what they need, and so on and so forth. And at the start of this, when she is given this request, it's a request that would only be taken by somebody who was really desperate, because the three sides of this fight are very fundamentally opposed to each other, not just because they're in a land war on the planet that they're fighting over, although they are, but it's that they are culturally opposed to each other. The Autricars are a fairly democratic, Republican, go-your-own-way sort of species, while the vampires are very, very restrained and civilized. The Autricars are sort of, very guttural and instinctive and tribal and so on, whereas the vampires are extremely medieval and very, very feudal, and the two sides are basically the culture, the fundamental, it's one of those fundamental culture clashes where everything that one side values in their culture is thought of as useless or completely dismissed in the other, so that they fundamentally don't get the other side's cultural perspective. And of course, they've been at war over this for just long enough that both sides, kind of want the other ones dead and off the land on principle, because it's a sunk cost fallacy. They're basically at the point now where we have bled and died over this for however many generations, we're not giving it up now. It is very much the whole, well, I've spent so much on it, I might as well finish it out, sunk cost fallacy thing, and it's a war that's very much like that. And the thing is that they each want peace and they each want to stop the war, but at the same time, none of them can compromise because honor demands that they not compromise. Anyway, so the arbitrator goes to our heroine Dina's inn and asks her to do this, and she takes him on because an inn needs guests, and her inn doesn't have guests, and the number of guests at this peace conference would give her inn a tremendous boost in terms of actual sheer health and welfare of the inn, which, as I mentioned last time, is a sort of a living creature, which means it needs food, and the food that it needs is the energy put out by guests in an inn. So, the big thing about this is, she's doing a very impressive job of handling things, but the big issue in this is that the arbitrator is sort of like the ultimate in the manipulative jerk category of people who do things for everyone else's own good, and they manipulate everything, and they are in fact exactly the kind of people who get to the point where they never even think of just asking, that everything that they do is specifically calculated in some way to do 8 other things. And it doesn't occur to them to ask that if they ever are just asking, you can bet your bottom dollar that they are not just asking, that the just asking has layers to it. And he basically manipulates everything and puts Dina into an incredibly problematic situation. And the only thing that bails her out is at the very end of this, because of what his manipulations did, the only thing that ends up bailing her out is in effect that he gives a recommendation for her inn, because there is a governing body for these inns. It's extremely loose and mystical and who's it, but there is one who have a 5-star, 4-star, something star system for these inns, which has to do with, which has to do with how well an innkeeper does. And because, of course, innkeepers are not just running a hotel where it needs to be clean and tidy and whatnot, but that it needs to be able to cater to every single species in the galaxy and be, as I said last time, neutral ground in that particular metaphysical sense of neutral ground. That if you fail at that, and if you fail to protect the people staying in your inn, which she did because this guy incited several of them to wind up killing each other, because that's the thing about this, is that basically everything that happens is his manipulation, and while he is doing it with the best of intentions and doing it because he wants to, make everything turn out okay and so on and so forth, it's got that abrasive quality of Dumbledore's manipulations in Harry Potter, of anybody who manipulates the bigger picture for what is supposedly the greater good, but nonetheless is deeply, deeply offensive, because you are screwing with people's ability to make decisions, their ability to decide what to do, their ability to make choices, by effectively tricking them and setting up situations where they have to make particular choices, or they're going to make particular ones because of the kind of people they are. And that kind of manipulation really, really grates. And in the book after this one, he makes a sort of a glancing, distant appearance in the back, but it leads me to suspect that at some point in future we will see him again, because I haven't finished the series. I've done most of it, but not all of it. And there aren't that many books, or at least there aren't that many books in the public library that I have access to right now. But yeah, it's the kind of thing just rubs you the wrong way. It's like, it's like Fury, General Fury in the Avengers, where, you understand what Fury is doing, but you kind of wish that he wouldn't do that because it's really, really offensive, and he's the kind of person that you look at and you say, did it never occur to you to just try asking? Ever? Anyway, so that's that thing. This particular book pushes a little bit more, because it was introduced in the first book, but this one continues it, that Dina is an innkeeper, and the thing about innkeepers is, because they run these neutral ground, invaded by aliens things, it means that the people who live, the innkeepers who work in the inns and their families are very, very isolated from the bulk of the rest of people. Children wind up being homeschooled because they can't bring their friends home with them, because an inn is this weird paranormal zone, and it's like one of those, law number 1, don't expose the paranormal. And so you can't bring your friends home, and you can't hang around with the other kids because the whole base existence in the inn is nothing like anyone else's. And so it leaves the children isolated, and because inns are not particularly close together, it also means that you don't have people who, can make up a school of all of the innkeeper's kids so they can at least socialize normally with other kids. It's an extremely isolating experience. So Dina's parents disappeared, and it's a big mystery because they had an inn. They were innkeepers, and while she was away at university and while her brother was out running an errand, the inn that her parents lived in, their inn just vanished. Just poof. It's like one moment there was an inn and her brother left, and when he came back after running his errands doing the shopping, there was just an empty lot. And Dina and her brother look for a while. They have a sister, but the sister had gotten married and settled down on a planet far away and basically wasn't participating in this. But they look for a while, but Dina eventually chose to come back and start up an inn. But one of the things that she does is she has a painting of her parents right in the front hall with the intention of basically having every single person who comes through will have to look at that painting, and she keeps hoping that somebody will find out something. Someone will know something about what happened, because there is no closure. It's this entire mystical building and all of the people inside just vanishing into thin air. It's something where nobody has an explanation and nobody understands what happened. And so there is no closure. There's no way of being able to say that her parents are definitely dead or not or what, because nobody knows. And so that was raised in the first book just as sort of part of the background of her existence. But in this one, it comes up a little bit more. There's a little bit more discussion about that, and in fact, at the end of the book, she has even gotten a promise from several of the people who were at these peace talks that did eventually work out after going into very extreme measures to work this all out. And having worked it all out, the several of the people who were there agree that they would like to, that they will keep an eye out, that they'll keep an ear to the ground, just in case they know something, find out something about her parents, because thanks to her efforts as much as anyone else, they have managed to actually make a treaty. And they will all be able to stop killing each other and share this planet that they had been fighting over. So that's the thing, is these books aren't epic. I mean, there's a lot of drama in them, a lot of excitement, and a lot of adventure, but at the same time, we're not having, a world-ending fight. This isn't Independence Day. We're not, dealing with Alana trying to save Tortall from Duke Roger's manipulations. There's none of that. There's, it's dramatic stuff, but it's also not stuff that, as a rule, the fate of the entire galaxy is resting on everybody's actions. And this slightly smaller scale, very relaxing in its way, actually. Anyway, that's everything, and I will see you all next week.